Hello everyone, it's storytelling time. Welcome to Tell Me a Story with Librarian Jeanne. That's me, Librarian Jeanne. So I hope you're ready for a story. Tonight's story is going to be a legend, a traditional story that some people think is historical, but it's not backed up by facts. But it does explain something. Those legends do. This legend is told by the Irish people who have a long tradition of Christianity. And so there are many Christian references in the story. But first, let's talk a little bit about the season. It's October. What does October mean to you? Well, to me, it means raking leaves and looking at the pretty colors of the leaves and maybe jumping in a pile of leaves after I've raked them. That's always fun, all the crunch and wonderful sounds. But it also means going to farm stands and getting things to decorate my house, like this pretty gourd. I've got several here. This one, different kinds of gourds to decorate the house, and picking out a pumpkin for decoration and maybe for carving. This pumpkin is made out of pottery, so I can't carve it. And this one is made out of plastic, and you can see that somebody carved a face in it, or designed it so it looks like it has a face. And big smile, triangle eyes, and a triangle nose. And there's a rat sitting here, and he's got a bucket with another pumpkin. And then, lots of people grow pumpkins. You can grow them on a farm or in your backyard, or even your front yard if you have a big enough space. And then they'll go out and pick it when they're ready for Halloween. But other people grow pumpkins to see how big they can get them. They try to grow the biggest pumpkin they've ever grown. And every year in Half Moon Bay, which is about a few miles north of Santa Cruz, they have a contest, and people bring their big pumpkins from all over the country to see who's grown the biggest pumpkin. This year's winner was a farmer from Minnesota, and his pumpkin weighed 2,350 pounds. That's pretty big. That's more than a ton. Not the biggest pumpkin ever grown. The biggest pumpkin ever grown was measured in 2016, and it was grown in Belgium, which is a country in Europe, and it weighed 2,624 pounds. That's 300 pounds, pretty much two people bigger than this year's winner. Very big pumpkins. Now, I don't think they carve those pumpkins into jack-o'-lanterns. That would be too big, and it'd be pretty messy too. I think you'd be able to climb inside one if it was hollowed out and live in there. But they don't. But we do often. People get pumpkins and then they carve them and make funny faces and scary faces and pretty designs, and sometimes they even paint them. But we're going to talk about jack-o'-lanterns, which are the carved ones, and they put a light inside of them. Or we put a light inside of them. So the story of how jack-o'-lanterns came about is the Legend of Stingy Jack. As I said, this is an old Irish tale. Now, old Jack was stingy. He didn't want to pay for anything. If he had to, he counted his pennies, and he made sure he got the best deal possible. But one night, he did want to go out for a drink. And so he invited the devil to come along with him. Well, they had their drink, but Jack, he didn't want to pay. He wanted someone else to pay for his drink. So he convinced the devil to turn himself into a coin to for the drinks. Now, I don't know how he convinced the devil, but he did. And so there was the devil, turned into a coin. Jack had the coin in his hand. Instead of paying for the drinks, he put the coin in his pocket, right next to a silver cross. And with the silver cross there, the devil couldn't turn himself back into his rightful devilish position. And so Jack left the bar. Now, I don't know who paid for the drinks, but not him and not the devil. And the devil was pretty upset with Jack. So Jack let him calm down a little bit. And after a while, he freed the devil, but not before he made the devil promise that he wouldn't bother him for a whole year. And if Jack died, because he was old, if Jack died, the devil wouldn't take his soul. So Jack was pretty pleased with himself. He thought that was a pretty good deal. And the devil, you know, he was back his old self, so he was okay with it too. And after a year, Jack and the devil met up again. And Jack, I don't know how he did it. He must have a silver tongue. He convinced the devil to climb up a tree and pick some magical, wonderful fruit that was in the top of the tree. Well, while the devil was up at the top of the tree, Jack carved a cross on the trunk of the tree, and that meant that the devil couldn't get down. So, I don't know what that fruit was, but it must have been pretty special, don't you think? So the devil was stuck in the top of the tree. Jack was down there, and he figured, now's my chance. I can make another deal with the devil, and I could get a better deal. So this time, he convinced the devil that he wouldn't bother him for 10 whole years, and he still wouldn't take his soul if he died. So he erased the cross, and the devil was able to come down the tree, and he kept his bargain. He didn't bother Jack. And that was great, except that Jack died. Not too long after this happened, Jack died. And so, you know, Jack, as any good Irishman would do, he went up to heaven, like God wouldn't let him in. God was pretty upset with him too. He said, Jack, you've been a bad boy. You tricked the devil. You probably tricked other people. You didn't pay your bills. No heaven for you. So Jack, well, he said, I'm going down to meet the devil, see if he'll let me in. The devil tricked him. Devil wouldn't let him in either. After all, he promised that he wouldn't take Jack's soul. And you know what? The devil kept his promises. So, but he did give Jack a lump of burning coal so that he could see his way in the dark. And the coal was hot, so Jack, he figured he had to have it in something to keep it burning still. So Jack carved out a turnip, which is a root vegetable, sort of like a fat, big carrot, and he was left to wander in the darkness with his coal in his turnip for the rest of his days. And that's how the Irish figured out that they could decorate for Halloween with carved turnips or potatoes that they could put a light in. And, you know, they grew some pretty big turnips and some pretty big potatoes. But when the Irish immigrated to the United States, they discovered that we had pumpkins, and they were much easier to carve and much better to make jack-o'-lanterns. And that's what they called the carved vegetables that they carved for Halloween, because it was Jack of the Lantern, and they squeezed those words together, and we got jack-o'-lantern. And so that's how we came to be carving pumpkins for Halloween. Now, I have a pumpkin, but I haven't carved it yet this year. I'm just enjoying it, and I think I probably won't carve it because it's a really pretty pumpkin. What are you going to do? Are you going to carve a pumpkin? Are you going to make a scary face or a happy face? Or maybe just a design? Or you could paint it, and that way it would last longer. How about that? So that's the end of pumpkins, jack-o'-lanterns, and the legend of Stingy Jack. Maybe you shouldn't be stingy because you'd be left to wander in the darkness. Okay, so that's the legend, and I think it's time for us to end. So we're going to sing our goodnight song, our goodbye song. Good night, friends. Good night, friends. Good night, everyone. I'm going to leave you now. Merrily we roll along, roll along, roll along. Merrily we roll along. We are off to bed. Farewell, friends. Farewell, friends. Farewell, everyone, I'm going to leave you now. Merrily we roll along, roll along, roll along. Merrily we roll along, we are off to bed. Sweet dreams, friends, sweet dreams, friends, sweet dreams, everyone. We are off to bed. Merrily we roll along, roll along, roll along. Merrily we roll along. We are off to bed. Good night, sleep tight, and don't forget to tune in next Wednesday night for bedtime stories with Librarian Jackie. And you can go to our website, www.santacruzpl.org, for lots and lots of other fun events and programs that you can find out about. We have lots every week. Good night.